Nostalgia marketing is used by companies to reintroduce new products that look like previous products from the past. However, many outcomes of nostalgia marketing have mixed results. Some do well and some don't do well, with no apparent knowledge of why. Some companies like Coca-Cola have seen like great success, while companies like Volkswagen haven't had as much success with introducing new products that look like old ones that enter the market. We believe that when people look at new products, it calls to mind visually similar products from consumers like previous experiences. And the evaluation of these new products is based on whether they liked the product they're remembering or not. We tested this in a large study using eye tracking, visual conjoint analysis, as well as a memory interview, and we find that consumers' visual attention is directed towards the locations in product images that confirm their preferred like product attribute. We believe that these findings can be very useful in determining visual attention models that can be used to improve nostalgia marketing campaigns in the future.
Are you a creator, such as making product images or advertisements? So the question here is that how many objects should we show in the product image? Or how much brightness should you have in a photo? If we can extract various visual complexities or features from these product images and also study how it relates to consumer valuations such as a willingness to pay, then that would be great for creators to give them implications. So what we did, we extracted various visual images such as luminance and object count, and what we found out is that you should use not too much or not too less to increase the consumer valuation such as the willingness to pay. And we also collected a large-scale EEG data among 180 participants, and what we found out is that like the alpha activity was also non-linearly represented in consumer valuation. So when the alpha level goes higher, then the consumer valuation started to drop down. So our implication for creators is that you should consider different levels of visual features such as luminance or object count, and you should also consider the representation that's happening in our consumer brain using the EEG portable devices.
Consumers, when they are doing their everyday grocery shopping, cannot accurately recall why they bought something, how they came to their decision, and how aroused or how excited they felt. Using new technological advancements, we are time synchronizing eye tracking and skin conductance responses down to the millisecond to find out exactly what happened during the shopping trip. We're also trying to find out how arousal actually affects these decisions and also how arousal can be manipulated at the point of sale. Through a series of field studies in actual supermarkets involving actual buying decisions, we're launching large data sets of physiological data to find out exactly how physiological arousal affects different kinds of buying decisions. While consumers cannot accurately recall what kind of decision they made and how their decision came to be, we're still trying to predict these decisions based on physiological arousal measures. So, if you want to find out how your consumers in the store feel and how they make their decisions, you have to read our research.
Have you ever felt a little twinge of annoyance if you've walked in a room and you discovered that somebody's sitting in your favorite seat or the seat you usually sit in? Well, that's a territorial response, and you've just felt infringement. In our research, we are studying narcissism, and we find that there are two forms of grandiose narcissism: rivalry and admiration. And we have found that both exhibit territorial responses, but in different ways in different circumstances. And people who are higher in rivalry are more likely to get defensive about something that they feel ownership for and respond pretty nasty. People who are higher in admiration, though, welcome others' ownership because it validates their own sense of ownership. And as a matter of fact, they get a little annoyed if you don't know it. So the implications for marketers are if you want to elicit psychological ownership in your consumers, that's great. But remember that some consumers respond territorially, and these territorial responses are rooted in the brain.
There's a famous quote that advertisers are wasting half of their money on ads, but they don't know which half. So we seek to address this issue by trying to figure out which measures help predict advertising effectiveness. This was informed by dual process theories of cognition. We figured that recall would be better predicted by physiological measures that measure unconscious responses, while things like attitude change would be better measured by conscious self-reports about the advertisement. So to do this, we measured over 250 individuals as they viewed Super Bowl commercials, while we measured facial expressions, eye tracking, and heart rate. We also measured self-report on what they felt during the commercial and their attitude towards the ad. About 2 weeks later, we also asked them if they recalled the advertisement or not. And what we found was, first, physiological measures and self-reports did not have a very high correlation. So we think this is because they measure just different things. They're tapping into different processes. We also found that self-reports were very good at measuring attitude change relative to physiological measures. On the other hand, physiological measures were good at measuring recall. So the next time an advertiser is concerned about the effectiveness of their ads, they can use our research to figure out which ads are effective and which ones are not.
A quick quiz question: which product innovation is more likely to fail? The one that makes you learn about the functional features of the product, or the one that makes you learn new routines? Spoiler alert, it's the habit and routine changing product innovations that are more likely to fail in the marketplace. Our research is about product innovations, and companies launch these regularly. However, still a huge percentage of them fail in the marketplace. We study what kind of learning leads to adoption or rejection in the marketplace. We study two forms of innovativeness: functional innovativeness, what the product is doing, and behavioral innovativeness, how to use it. We use a variety of methods, including functional neuroimaging, self-report, people self-report in their behavior in both the lab and the field. And what we find is that a pain processing hub, the anterior insula, explains why behavioral innovativeness leads to less adoption in the marketplace. This is also reflected in people's self-report. They report behavioral innovativeness to be painful. So next time your company is doing something radical, focus on highlighting functional features and less so the need for people to relearn their behavior.